What's up, C-Pop Universe? Welcome to In the Man Cave with Brandon K. And as you can see for the first one, we ain't in the man cave because it's too damn nice out. So we ain't in this hammock cave thing. But anyhow, this is going to be my segment. Segment with just Brandon K, his thoughts, and you. No Warden, no Son. And today, we're going to talk about a game that's near and dear to my heart growing up as a kid, Konami's Contra. And for more particular, the anniversary edition that just came out. Now, Contra, in my opinion, made you a badass. People talk about games making your brain rotten. Contra improved your muscle memory, your reflex, and your hand-eye coordination. And to master Contra, you had to master these skills. Contra made you a better human being. But is this anniversary edition for $19.99 worth the price? Let's talk about it. Now, the arcade version of Contra isn't the one that set the gaming world on fire, but it is the one that got it all started. This game was a quarter-sucking son of a bitch. You'd walk into an arcade with $10, and 3 minutes later, Contra had you broke. The game was brutally hard for the time period. When you add in the hectic side-scrolling shooting gameplay with one-hit kills and bullshit that would just jump at you at a moment's notice, this game could wear you down. But the caveat of it all, it was incredibly fun to play. Super Contra played very similar to the original, and was a pretty worthy sequel to its predecessor. It added a new top-down mechanic on certain levels, and some inclines and declines throughout the side-scrolling ones. You could also now upgrade your gun by getting the same version twice. It also added a kill-all item that would do just that if you got it. You could also control the height of your jump unlike previous versions, but all in all, this was Contra as you knew it, and it still sucked the life out of your wallet. Thank God for the NES versions. Now, let's move on to the beast known as Contra. This game came out in 1988 for the Nintendo Entertainment System and was the game that put Contra on the map. It was also the game that made the Konami code famous. Up, up, down, down, left, right, BA. It's pretty cool to note that this wasn't the first game to use it, it's just the one that really popularized it. Grady's did it 2 years earlier. But when you first played this game, it was a necessary evil or you were in for a long day, because this was every bit as unforgiving as the arcade version. But true Contra masters would work to the day they'd be able to beat this game with just a 3 allotted lives and no continues. The cool thing about this game is it introduced a 2-player couch co-op gameplay, and it was something that really wasn't done at the time. And this thing could build friendships or it could end them because of this added mechanic to the game where you could steal your friends' lives if you ran out. It could be a real kick in the balls when he took your last life and then you died before him. Contra featured a side-scrolling run-and-gun mechanic for most levels, but it also mixed it up with a couple pseudo 3D levels and that dreaded waterfall levels where you had to keep going up. This level also ended friendships because it was really easy to kill your buddy by jumping up too fast. It had a really cool boss fights at the end of each of these levels, and each level kind of had its own feel for it, a new environment, a new play style. All in all, this is one of the best arcade ports that I played on the NES. Due to graphical limitations, the character models were changed and some of the environmental effects dumbed down, but it sure beat throwing quarters at the arcade version. Super C is a Nintendo sequel to Contra and an arcade port of Super Contra. In Japan, this game was called The Alien Strikes Back, but when it was ported over to the NES, it became known as Super C. That also, for some odd reason, doesn't have the Konami 30 live code, though it does have a code for 10. This game was just more Contra, which isn't a bad thing. It had some new mechanics, just like the arcade version, such as a top-down view of certain levels, and their inclines and declines and yada yada throughout the side-scrollers. It also changed the god-awful fire gun into something useful. This game is fun and every bit as hard as the original, but for some reason it didn't gain the popularity of Contra. Now, Contra may have been the game to put this franchise on the map, but the Alien Wars, this is the one that showed you how good Contra could be. This game was a huge improvement over the first two. Because of the Super Nintendo, this game's graphics were leaps and bounds better than the original. But it wasn't just prettier. This game added new guns, and for the first time, you could hold 2 at once. You could also fire them at the same time by holding L and R. You also now have the ability to lock your player into place, but you could shoot up in an angle without running into some bullshit while you tried to do this. You could shoot actually in all 8 directions, which gave you a lot more control over how you went through the level. You can now climb walls, jump on monkey bars, destroy buildings in the background, and in particular Contra Cheesy Glory, in one level you could jump from missile to missile while fighting the boss, and one wrong slip and you fell to your death. There's also a motorcycle level in this game that would want to make you burn your house down with this game in it because how brutal it could be. In the top-down levels, though retooled and pretty fun to play, the controls were terrible for them. All in all though, this is probably my favorite Contra game of all time, and the goal, beat this game on hard and get that extra boss fight at the end. Contra Hardcore for the Sega Genesis. Now this is a Contra game I hadn't played until I bought this Anniversary Edition. This game plays a lot like Alien Wars, which makes me a big fan of it. This is the first Contra game where you can choose between 4 unique characters, and each character has its own set of guns. So you're going to have to be watching out for the one that matches your playstyle and pick that player. The little robot can be fun and useful because of his size. He's short and he walks underneath a lot of attacks. He also has a harder time shooting certain enemies because of how short he is. You do ride your motorcycle on a level, which changes up the routine a bit, but most of this game is a side-scrolling run and gun fun you come to know from Contra. The story also progresses through cutscenes, which is a first for the series. This game right now is probably the hardest of the ones I have talked about, probably because I haven't played it that much yet, but it does mean Contra fans will want to try their hand at getting to the end of this beast. Operation C is the Game Boy version of Contra, and at first playing it doesn't seem too fun. It's much slower than the others, and after playing the others for so long, the timing on your jumps for this can be a bit wonky. But when you get through all that, this game is surprisingly fun for what it was. It added in auto-fire, making the machine gun pretty much the default weapon. The guns can also be upgraded by getting 2 of the same ones in a row. There's a badass spread homing gun that when upgraded is an absolute monster. This game plays a little bit more like Super C than it does regular Contra. It's short with only 5 stages, but I'm telling you right now, definitely don't sleep on this one. Contra the Anniversary Edition comes with a lot of reskin, remakes, whatever. Super Probotector Alien Rebel and Probotector Hardcore are the European versions of Alien Wars and Hardcore respectively. These games are just reskins of the prior games. The characters in the games are replaced by robots. The presumption on this is it was done because of the German federal agency which banned the sale of media deemed too violent for children, including content which glorifies war, thus requiring this robotic change. The fact that these games are just reskins of the originals makes the games really hardly worth playing in my opinion. I would have loved to see these games just taken out and replaced by something else, maybe Contra 4 or another game in the series. This game comes with a bonus book, and if you're interested in the lore of Contra, and personally, I'm not. To me, Contra is just mindless fun, incredibly hard, mindless fun. But if you're interested in these things, this bonus book does seem pretty deep and worth checking out. It goes into detail about the game series, the history, and has bonus interviews with some of the developers. So let's be honest. Konami oversold this game a bit. It claimed 15 Contra experiences, but 10 of those are ports or reskins of other games. I'd like to see them drop the European versions of Probotector and maybe put Contra 4 in there or another Contra experience. But at $19.99, you cannot beat what you do get. The 5 core Contra experiences are well worth your time. It's well worth the trip down nostalgia lane. And I'll tell you this, Brandon K is giving this a thumbs up. That's going to be it for today in Brandon K and his man cave. If you haven't yet, check out the Culture Pop podcast where the whole family gets together. We talk about video games, movies, we argue. It's a great time. Check us out on iTunes, Spotify, CastBox, or whatever else you listen to podcasts on. Make sure you ring that bell or subscribe if you haven't already. And we'll see you guys next time on Brandon K and the Man Cave.